Premier, thank you. Let's hear from Devon now.
Hi, I'm Devon. My question's to both of you. I'll start with Beck, though. Given that context, it's the same question. I'll go to Jeremy as well. So, obviously, we're in the middle of an inflationary crisis at the moment that's primarily been driven by dovish monetary policy, right? So that's outside the remit of the Tasmanian government. But if we're looking at 0% or 2% deposit rates, this will lift the floor for house prices that are already out of reach. This is a demand-side policy that's going to drive prices significantly up, which is going to get a lot of young people my age, a bit older, younger, to leave the state, right? When we don't want to. But you may be forced to because of the economic circumstances, right? So my question then is, if you're talking about this, which has a precedent with the US subprime mortgage crisis and so on, it's had negative, dire economic consequences when we've lowered deposits too low. That meant the leverage is far too high on the mortgages. Then to what extent, and that's at taxpayer expense with the shared equity, to what extent are we going to drive supply to counteract the demand-driven fuel that pushes the prices up from that side of the policy? So I'll start with Beck and then Jeremy.
Thanks, Devon. And it's an important question because you're right. Our game changer policy hopefully will create demand so people can buy their first home without the worry of having to find a deposit. $12,000 is a lot of money to find, and you might think that it's not very much, Jeremy. You and I have had this debate previously, but 2% means $12,000. Who's got that in their back pocket when you're paying $600 a week in rent? Zero deposit makes it possible for people to buy a home, but it has to be coupled with supply measures. You're right. We've announced initiatives around build to rent, so that would provide an additional 1,000 properties into the market over the next 5 years, and that would be done through providing tax relief, land tax relief, over 30 years for those developers if they made those homes available for rent for 30 years. Because things like the private rental incentive scheme that Jeremy spoke about is only for 3 years. If you're moving house every 3 years, that is incredibly disruptive. We want to provide long-term rental accommodation for people as well as options for home ownership. We're also going to support the development of another 2,000 apartments and more high-density living in our cities through providing stamp duty relief for those developers and providing other incentives, because we've got a bit of an urban sprawl happening. We've got a lot of infill areas that we could develop. We want to be able to work with councils to do that. And also about housing our key workers. Right across regional Tasmania, we have a real struggle at the moment being able to recruit workers, whether it's our teachers or our health workers, because there's nowhere for them to live. We'll be working with our local councils to identify vacant land that we can partner with them to build 500 new long-term rental properties for those workers. Now, all of these things are combined with our efforts it's actually matching the Liberal Party around their commitment to build 10,000 social housing homes over the next 10 years. There shouldn't be a political difference when it comes to providing affordable, secure, social and affordable housing. And so we have said we'll meet that same commitment if we're elected, because there's stress in every point in the housing market, whether you're on the public housing waiting list, which has doubled over the last 10 years, you're in private rental, or you're trying to find a first home to buy. We've got solutions for all of those areas because we have to increase supply as well as providing new opportunities for people to own their own home.